What's up, y'all? Hope you're all feeling good and looking great. So there's two camps around this joint. One camp pushes quality over quantity. The other camp likes quantity, although they can appreciate quality. And when it comes to going out, sometimes that creates a conflict. If majority rules, the destination will be a macaroni grill, a cheesecake factory, in the old days an elephant bar. There might be a hip local eatery restaurant that is cracking, long lines, big crowds, place to be seen. And then the other camp that's looking for a little mom and pop restaurant where the owners don't really try to make huge profits. It's more about sharing who they are with the world. There's a place in San Francisco in Dogpatch. I believe it's on Tennessee, right there by the wharf area, right? The port. I think it's the port right there. And so this is a father and son. And inside their little corner restaurant, they probably got 4 tables that seat either 2 or 3 people. Outside, they might have another 4, maybe 5 tables that can seat up to 4 people, some of them. So it's a small place. I think they're only open from 11 to 3 every day. But they have certificates and awards from international accreditation agencies for food, like Michelin, if you will. But these are specific to Europe. And they got awards from Italy for being cultural treasures, for being an asset to Italian culture. And the food they make is mind-blowing. First time I ate there, when I had the pasta, I remember thinking, fuck, you don't need nothing else but this string of pasta. Because when you bit into it, you tasted the butter, you tasted the eggs, you tasted the spices that were in the food. Like, you got a whole, I don't know what the word would be, it's eluding me. But you got a very wide range of flavors in that one piece of pasta. And they hit you in different orders. And I was like, wow, it was a wow moment. So that is my end goal, is finding those wow moments when I go try a new place to eat. Another wow moment I can recall clearly was this, upscale restaurant here locally called The Fireplace. And they had a Oaxacan pork belly for lunch one time. And, you bite into it and you think this dude is an artist. This dude in the back is just alive in preparing this. He's not just working a job. He's not just a cog in a machine designed to make money. It's a human giving you the best of them, hoping you appreciate it. I would rather pay a little bit more for a single lobster that was prepared well, and with that sense of sharing with my talents with the world and you, to, an all-you-can-eat lobster buffet in Reno where, some dudes are coming out and just dumping them and people come along in the line and pull them. It's a different flavor. If you drink a beer made by Trappist monks with love because they're trying to share with the world a art and a craft that they have, that's different than a 12-pack of 211s or even Budweisers just in a factory being mass produced for profit. The other thing is the restaurants where I've had these wow moments, except for the taqueria that I just posted about, they're usually quiet places. They're not loud. And the other camp around here, they like ambiance. And there's nothing wrong with that. I would say most people like ambiance with eating. You know, they like some people moving around. They want to see that there's a lot of pretty people there. People want to come eat there. You know, things are happening, moving. And so they're loud. There's music playing. You know, people like that stuff. And it's not my place to tell them what to like. That's all good. And there's a lot of good places like that that also have good food. You know, it's not mutually exclusive that a place like that could have good food, but often the case is, at least with, you know, Macaroni Grill, Cheesecake Factory, the Old Elephant Bar, remember Outback, the thing with those is portions. You know, I would always hear people say, oh man, you ever been to Outback? They got amazing portions. Oh man, you ever been over here? They got some huge portions. And it's also lively and kicking it and all that, and you got this big portion. And so when there's a vote, big portions, ambiance wins out over quiet focus on the food. You know, the Firehouse, it's like austere. It's the paintings on the walls are from the 1800s looking. It looks very highly formal. And I don't like necessarily have to dress up to go. I might go in sweats if it's lunch. And I ain't tripping. I feel comfortable. But they're quiet places. You know, if a crumb falls, a guy would come by with this knife and wipe off and slide all the crumbs off. And to me, it's almost embarrassing. Like, you know, I'm like, dude, you don't got to do that because you're making me feel like I'm too messy. In my mind, I'm thinking that. And so they would just come and do it. And between meals, they give you this little palate cleanser. And I'm not saying this stuff to brag. You know, part of this channel is to show Raza what's out there. Good and bad for you. You know, the systemic racism that's out there that's not good for you. And these other things you could do to help broaden your mind. You know, that's why I do them. I think that I explore food like Anthony Bourdain. You know, I want to try all the food from all the cultures, but I want those ingredients to be really, really good. See, another difference between the camps, and this is a good example, is one camp can probably only go to 4 Chinese restaurants. All the other ones might not taste good to them, or unappealing, and maybe even gross. Like, you'll eat that and gag. This other camp can go to every Chinese restaurant. There are no limits to which Chinese restaurants they can go to. They're all good to them. But they can go to every Chinese restaurant, but they're limited to 4 items they like. My camp can only go to 4 restaurants, but they'll eat every single thing on the menu. Almost, you know, like a duck. I don't like duck, but I'll eat the chicken feet. You know, now I'm not talking about drumsticks. I'm talking about the feet they actually walk on, and it's got a little tendon, and you pull it and it goes. And then, like, if you're eating with a bunch of people, don't matter how old you are, how nice you might be dressed, you'll mess with the girl next to you with the little claw bite pull. It'll be like, oh, it's going to get you. And I'll eat those too, you know, dim sum. And so, in the spirit of, you know, approaching the world similar to Anthony Bourdain, you know, if I keep drawing distinctions between the camps because that is what leads to the punchline of this story. If my camp is going to make a dish and it involves pork, I will go to the farmer's market. buy it from the farmer, who would show me pictures of his pigs like fucking laying on a log in a bog next to a puddle of mud, just hella happy. Like pigs that lived happy lives. Eggs, whenever possible, I get them from people that got actual chickens and they only got 4 or 5 chickens that they love, that, you know, they buy meal grubs and they go looking for plants to cut down to give them, and just super happy chickens. I'll eat those eggs whenever I can get them. And I think that I can taste the difference between an animal that lived a happy life and an animal that lived a sad life. And there is, I think, some type of research that indicates that the more stressful an animal is throughout their life, the more they produce, certain hormones. When we encounter stress, we produce a fight or flight response. I told my kids, hey, if you don't want to learn how to fight, at least learn how to run, because you gotta be able to do one or the other. And so that hormone, it affects how meat tastes. I think I could see if a chicken like just had a super happy life, lived out in a field every morning, ran around, maybe even kicked it with guinea pigs and ducks, and was just a happy chicken until the farmer snuck up on them and bam, made a delicious meal. To one chicken that is like all crammed in with a bunch of other chickens, beak is half broken, feathers pecked off of it because the other chickens bullied it. It becomes bitter, it suffers, and I think people could taste that. And that's why I can't go to all Chinese or Mexican or soul food. It doesn't matter the ethnicity. If they use chickens that have been abused and sad, I think I could taste that, and I don't. And the food just it's not good to me. But so now that I've kind of set the groundwork or the basis for these 2 camps, me and my camp is constantly trying to win the hearts and minds of this camp over, so that when there are group votes, instead of the Cheesecake Factory, we're going to this little Indian restaurant that an Indian couple opened. And it's clean and it's nice, but it's quiet. People there are having low-key conversations. There's not music blaring, and it's about the food. And in that spirit, I did a taste test yesterday with my kids. I got 3 plates, and I laid out, 3 halves of tamales, or thirds, because I took a third too. One was a tamale with un tamal de pollo. It's not a tamale. See, I'm fucking shit up. It's tamal, and in English it's tamale. That's like saying, instead of avocado and aguacate, avocados from Mexico. Nah, that ain't a fucking word, man. Don't change that shit up. That's what I was doing. So, anyways, there was a tamal de mole con pollo, a tamal de chile verde, and a tamal de puerco. So a green chili, a chile verde pork tamale, a pork tamale with red chile sauce, and a chicken tamal with tamale. I'll say it in English. I'll use the thing. I won't put the Spanish accents. I don't know why I did that. That was weird. But the chicken and mole tamale. So I just say tamal. Now you know what I'm talking about. If you're an English speaker, you learned a new word and it's even got less syllables. So I've made you more efficient. I've saved you some time in your life that you probably just lost listening to this last part. But anyways, I digress. So I laid these 3 out. And trying to win over this camp, I'm telling them, look, these are 3 different kinds. I'm interested in knowing which one you like better and why. And I'll say this. the lady I originally got these tamales from. Oh, you do say tamales when it's plural. These tamales from. She initially had some de barbacoa, which is beef, and they were wrapped in a banana leaf, and they were like hella chunky, and they were phenomenal, phenomenal. And for like 3 weeks now or a month, she's just been stringing me along. I have them Saturday, I swear. And then I go on Saturday, and they don't have them. And then the last time I got a text like at 5 in the morning. Hey, I forgot to make them. I'm sorry. And they've been having some kind of health issues. I'm not even mad at them. I still buy the other kind from them. And the tacos de canasta from her sister, or as my family calls them, the basket tacos. And so I got them from somewhere else. And I think they used banana leaves of a lesser quality because it didn't impart that flavor in them. And you know that, again, the ingredients, if you have the best ingredients, you get the best product. If you start out with flawed and low, if you cut corners on ingredients, your final product can't be good. You know, if you grow, I would say, like, if you grow hemp, well, that won't work. But if you grow hops for making beer, some of that shit is genetics. Because if you take a hops that is not good and give it all the nurturing and love in the world, it's not going to become a high-grade hops. And so you have to start out with a good foundation to come up with a good end product. The tortillas from the video I posted the other day, the restaurant is proud to tell you, you know, these tortillas are made from heirloom maize. You know, this is not, we don't even use genetically modified corn to make our tortillas. This is heirloom shit. The same corn that was used 50, 60, 70, 80 years ago. And that makes a difference. You know, that those small, tiny things make a difference. And so this was apples to oranges because all 3 tamales came from the same person. The banana leaves, they used the same. The masa was the same. Just the ingredients on the inside, the stuffing was different. And so there is no right or wrong. There really, I thought there is no right or wrong answer. How, you know, whatever you choose, it's personal preference. So we eat them, You know, I got my coffee. I wait a while, make the kids do chores, and then, you know, I call them over, and I'm like, hey, how are those tamales? Oh, they were good. You know, thank you. Dad actually said thank you before, but they were like, they were good, thanks. And then I'm like, well, which one did you like the best? And actually, you know what? This is how we did it. I did have them on the comal because I always reheat them. And banana ones, they reheated differently than the ones in the corn husks. The ones in the corn husks seem to be more conducive to reheating. But we pulled one off, third it, ate it. Pulled another one off, third it, and ate it. Pulled another one off, you know, cut it in thirds, and then ate it. That's how we did it. It was, they weren't all 3 on the plate. They were one at a time while they were heating up, because the comal wasn't big enough for all 3. So I had 2 with one on top thawing, no, they were in the refrigerator. So just getting warm, and then I'd flip these, and I was rotating them because the leaves, they seemed to burn and crisp up. It was interesting. And so I said, well, which one did you like the best? And I hear the first one. Really? You like the first one the best? And that was the chile verde, which I thought was pretty good. Well, I'd say it was just good. Compared to the first ladies, they were not good. But if I would have never had the first ones I had from the other lady, these I would have been like, they're cool. They're tamales, man. How the fuck can a tamal not be good? But there's tamales that great. And so I'm like, oh, this is interesting. You know, this camp is winning over hearts and minds. getting them to think about food and flavors, and you know, give them a little bit of refinement, if you will. And all excitedly, I go, "What was it about the first one that you liked the best?" Hoping to hear, "Well, the way the salsa blended with the pork just seemed to hit, and the ratio of masa to meat and inside was perfect. It was almost like, because you know, you might have too much masa, you might have too much meat, and you know, there's a sweet spot." And the response I heard back was, "That was the biggest piece you gave me." And I thought, motherfuck, man. Motherfuck. Well, can't win them all. So when I can, I sneak in some meals from exotic places. Every time I go to a Japanese restaurant, every single time I'll say, "Hey man, you guys ever get the sea snakes?" And then they'll be like, "What?" And I tell them, "Yeah, National Geographic, I saw these two old ladies that lived on a little island near Okinawa. You know, this is Japan, but they got little islands around there. And they got indigenous people too that look like the indigenous people here. Some of them live on these little islands. But there was these two sisters. They were like in their 80s and like late 80s, early 90s. And they would go to this cave and jump in, and you know, they're moving their hands around, and then they would come up and pull out a snake. And sea snakes are poisonous. They're related to cobras, but they just don't have the ability to strike fast like one. So I think they're called crates, and I could be wrong. I don't really know it all. So they pull them out, and then it shows the other sister, like, and they're talking shit like teenage girls, or you know what I imagine they would talk shit like. She goes, "Ah, look at that! It's always me getting one first." And then the other one digs around, and then she catches one, and then she talks shit. She's like, "Yeah, you always get them first, but I get the good ones," and yada yada yada. And so, you know, they were very youthful in spirit, is what I'm trying to say. And they go back, and then you see them start chopping up vegetables and cutting up this sea snake, and then throwing it in a soup. And when it comes out white like fish, just tender ass fish. And so after I saw that, I've always wanted to try that soup. And maybe I'm like even being snobby to the Japanese by saying, "Hey man, I'm trying to try some shit even you motherfuckers don't be eating, and you're from your culture." But I don't know. I don't think that's it. I think I just really want to try it. And my favorite experiences with Japanese restaurants is going with Japanese people and letting them order everything for me, or going to a Chinese restaurant and having my Chinese friends order for me. We used to do like the Iranian New Year, because you know there's a lot of Iranians where I work, or Persians, and you know, Persian New Year. That's right. And so we'd go to this restaurant, Kebab Palace, something like that, in North Sacramento, and then they would order for like the group, which was Chinese, Europeans, Mexicans, black folks, white folks, like just this cool group. And we would do like all the New Year's before COVID. And that was a lot of fun. And again, the person who was of that ethnicity would always order for the whole group. And to help us appreciate their culture. And as we're eating, they would tell us stories about, you know, how this food relates to them. And that's part of why I try to impart this open-mindedness about food to the other camp, which is my kids, so that they can have those experiences. You know, I tell them that the more open you are to other foods, the more, you know, you can go places and do things. And if you learn to use chopsticks or whatever utensils, or if a country and the people there eat with their hands, learn to eat with your hands. so that you grow, not just around the waist, but mentally. And so that's why I try to win over the hearts and minds to this side, and so that they have more options. And I don't really need to pull them away from restaurants. If they want to eat a chicken that's been beat up his whole life, more power to them. They can go to more places. But if they eat like heirloom and organics and animals raised without hormones and stress, it's probably healthier for them, and might give them more longevity. So that's the pros for trying to convince them over to this side. The cons is it does cost a little bit more, and so that is a con. It does cost a little bit more, but if you get away from the mentality of, ooh, big portions, ooh, I got a lot, but it's not really good quality, you'll find that if you get good quality, you actually need less. And to go even further, as much as I love food, I wholeheartedly believe that a restricted calorie diet, meaning if you're supposed to eat 3,000 calories a day and you only eat 2,500, your body will adjust and you'll live longer for it. I wholeheartedly believe that. I believe that fasting, is cures a lot of illness and builds discipline, and so it all adds up. It all adds up. If you can learn to do with smaller portions and just better quality, then maybe it'll be easier to fast when you need to. You could live off less calories. And these are just things that I believe. I'm not saying I even live them. That's the hard part, It's easy to believe stuff. It's harder to live it. Yesterday, I went to my first plate ever, and I was a little bit hungry. So I ended up drinking a hot chocolate, eating a Snickers bar, and a bag of M&Ms with peanuts. So goals to strive for, goals for how I want to be. I ain't there yet, but I would like to fast a lot more, and then if I do that, even refine the quality of the stuff I eat more as well. So there you have it. Did a taste test. No right or wrong answer. Got what could be a wrong answer. I like that the best because the portion was the biggest. Anyways, that's I don't know, man. That's all good. Kids are kids. I was probably not. Well, actually, I wasn't a refined eater when I was small. I remember buffets. Actually, even buffets, like Chinese food buffets, I would only eat the fried rice and the chow mein. I didn't like the meat at buffets. The only kind of good all-you-can-eat that I've had, like, where it's quality, was probably the highest quality all-you-can-eat. One was in Waikiki. And it was at this restaurant where, like, I'm sitting here and 2 feet away, there's a 15-foot wall with the tropical fish aquarium along the whole theme. And that one was good. There is a restaurant here called The Kitchen. And I'll probably make reservations to go. And there you can eat all you want until you're stuffed. But the chef prepares the menu. So the chef makes a menu for you, and you're going to eat whatever he gives you. If you want to eat, you can't order anything else. There's no, well, I came for this, or I came looking for the chicken. You go there, you're going to eat whatever they make. And you can get as much as you want, though. And they have a Michelin star. And the reservations are, like, probably a year out. maybe the most high-end restaurant in town. Then their crab feeds. I like crab feeds, and the best one I've been to was the Portuguese one because they had a lot of fishermen, and so they were able to get the stuff that they caught like that day to make this one happen. And you know, those things make a difference. A thawed out crab is a lot different than a crab caught fresh that day. And so I'm rambling on now, but I thought this was I was trying to make it a fun video. It just ended up being me rambling. Have a good one.